Give it another couple of minutes to see some more people dropping into the waiting room. We'll start around 7:05. Okay, well, it looks like the waiting room's calmed down, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Corey Pitts, and we're excited to share with you the details and benefits of this important project. Tonight, we're discussing the flash on Veirs Mill Road, its advantages, and how it will positively impact the community. First, we wanted to review some basic controls on how to use the Zoom meeting format before we walk through the project materials. All participants will be muted during the presentation. This allows folks to be able to hear the speaker and not talk over each other. You will be able to unmute yourself, or you will not be able to unmute yourself. But when we get to the Q&A portion, we will allow you to unmute yourself. So following the presentation, we will hold a question and answer session. To request that you be unmuted. To ask a question, please raise your hand by hovering over the reactions icon at the bottom of the Zoom menu and clicking the raise hand feature. And then a moderator will call on you and ask that you unmute yourself. You are also welcome to type your questions or comments in the chat box, the icon for which is also found at the bottom of your screen. The chat box will open in a window to the right-hand side of your screen. If you are joining us by phone only and not by computer or smart device, please hit *9 in order to raise your hand. And when the facilitator calls your name or the last four digits of your telephone number, you can dial *6 to unmute yourself. So now we're going to walk through some of the display boards that were shown at last night's in-person open house, and that can be found on the project website. This walkthrough will be about 15 minutes long, and then we'll spend the remainder of the meeting time taking questions and answering them. So follow me to the first stop. So what is Flash on Veirs Mill Road? The Veirs Mill Road Flash project is a 7-mile limited stop branded bus service with 12 stations planned along Veirs Mill Road and a portion of Maryland 355. The project includes 6 components: new Flash bus service, 12 new Flash stations, the use of existing bus-only lanes, as well as some of the existing shoulders to convert to bus-only lanes, upgraded pedestrian and bicycle features and facilities, transit signal priority, and queue jump lanes, which will allow the bus to bypass traffic at some of the busiest intersections along the corridor. This innovative transit solution will run from the Montgomery College Rockville campus to the Wheaton Metro station, providing faster, more reliable service compared to the existing local bus services that are on the corridor today. In terms of features and amenities, the features of this new frequent and reliable bus service along Veirs Mill Road and Maryland 355 include new enhanced vehicles that will offer often travel in dedicated bus lanes. The buses will accommodate bicycles on board due to their larger size and will offer Wi-Fi and charging USB ports at the seats. The height of our station platforms will be level with the bus floors, allowing for easier boarding and disembarking of the bus, so you don't have to step up or down to get on or off the bus. And now I'm going to turn it over to Christine Sitkowski to talk about some of the additional features of the Flash.
Thanks, Corey. So shown on the map on screen, and as Corey mentioned, The Veirs Mill Road Flash route extends from Montgomery College, Rockville campus to the Wheaton Metro Station, and there are 12 new bus stations planned along Veirs Mill Road and a portion of Maryland 355. At each of these station locations, except for the endpoints, there will be one platform in each direction. The design of the station platforms will be shown on slides later in the presentation. The Flash is anticipated to arrive every 6 to 10 minutes during the peak periods, which are 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon on weekdays. And the buses will arrive every 10 to 20 minutes during the off-peak periods and on weekends. The Flash will operate from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. every day. The new service will offer faster transit times compared to the existing local bus service that currently runs on Veirs Mill Road. Where possible, Flash will run in its own lanes to bypass the existing traffic congestion. Flash will also use queue jumps and transit signal priority as tools to avoid traffic at select intersections to provide faster and more reliable service. Queue jumps are short lanes at an intersection that the buses can use to bypass traffic that's waiting at the signal. The locations of the proposed queue jump lanes are shown in the orange highlighting on the map on screen. And transit signal priority is a tool that advances or extends the green light at a traffic signal by a few seconds to allow a bus to continue through the intersection. The intersections where transit signal priority is proposed are shown as the orange circles on this map. The Flash buses on Veirs Mill Road and Maryland 355 will operate in a mix of regular traffic and dedicated curbside lanes by utilizing the existing shoulders or lanes that are designated for buses and right turns only. Vehicles that are not Flash buses or turning right will be prohibited from using these dedicated lanes. The roadway segments where the Flash bus will run in its own dedicated lane are shown in yellow on this map. The Flash will run in a dedicated right-hand lane shared with right turns only, or in the shoulder in both directions along Veirs Mill between Atlantic Avenue and Parkland Drive, and in the eastbound direction between Connecticut Avenue and University Boulevard. Elsewhere, the Flash will be in mixed traffic, which is shared with all other vehicles. And the image in the bottom left corner of the screen shows existing bus lanes that are out along University Boulevard today that are painted red. The proposed dedicated bus lanes along Veirs Mill Road may look very similar to those that are on University Boulevard. We're keeping cyclists and pedestrians in mind for this project too, and the project includes bicycle and pedestrian improvements along Veirs Mill Road that will make it easier and safer to get to the Flash stations. The locations of these facilities, which include sidewalks and shared use paths, are highlighted in blue on the map. Shared use paths are paved off-road facilities designed for two-way travel of bicyclists and pedestrians, including pedestrians with disabilities. A sidewalk or a shared use path will be provided on one or both sides of Veirs Mill Road from Aspen Hill Road to Galt Avenue and along Randolph Road between Veirs Mill Road and Bushy Drive. These bicycle and pedestrian improvements include many of the recommendations from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Priority Area studies. And the Flash project also includes additional protected crossings of Veirs Mill Road, which are locations with a crosswalk and traffic signal where pedestrians and cyclists can safely cross the road between other major signalized intersections. These crossings of Veirs Mill Road are shown in green circles on the map and are proposed at Havard Street, Bushy Drive, Pendleton Drive, and Galt Avenue. The rendering on this slide shows an example of the proposed future condition along Veirs Mill Road at Bushy Drive. The signalized pedestrian crossing includes a new marked crosswalk and a traffic signal to allow pedestrians and cyclists to cross the street and access bus stops on either side of the road. There's no signal or crosswalk at this location today. The intersection at Veirs Mill Road and Connecticut Avenue will undergo an extensive reconfiguration as part of this project. A bird's eye view of the existing intersection is shown on the left side of the screen, and today there are unsignalized high-speed right turn lanes at each intersection corner. The right turning movements are shown in the light blue arrows. And the changes to the intersection, which are shown in the rendered image on the left-hand side of the screen, or the right-hand side, excuse me, will enhance pedestrian safety by eliminating the unsignalized right turn lanes, therefore reducing the number of roadway crossings for pedestrians. Flash bus platforms will be constructed at this intersection on the west leg of Veirs Mill Road. There will be increased pedestrian and cyclist activity around the Flash bus station, and the changes to the intersection will create a lower stress environment for transit users. On this next slide, we have an animation showing the proposed changes to the intersection. So as it's running, observe where the channelized right turn lanes at each corner are being removed. There will be fewer crosswalks and conflict points between vehicles and pedestrians, and right turning drivers will be forced to slow down to make the turning movement at the intersection. Now we'll move on to stop 3, and I'll turn things over to Mike to cover the Flash bus and station design.
Great, thanks, Christine. So in alignment with Montgomery County's climate action plan, the project will incorporate zero-emission hydrogen fuel cell electric buses. These 60-foot articulated buses will reduce air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, contributing to improved public health and quieter urban environments. Benefits of these zero-emission buses include reduced air pollution, lower noise levels, and potential long-term decreased fuel and maintenance expenses. For the station design, the Flash stations will be modern, comfortable, and community-friendly, providing amenities such as weather protection, seating, prepayment kiosks, and real-time transit information. The design will facilitate easy boarding and include facilities for bicycles, making the overall transit experience more convenient. So this rendering shows one of the proposed Flash stations. This is the one along Veirs Mill Road at Randolph Road near the Stony Mill Square Shopping Center. Community involvement is a key part of this project. The county is excited to be partnering with Arts on the Block to incorporate public art at each of the Flash bus platforms. This program not only beautifies our transit infrastructure, but also provides youth with valuable opportunities in arts and design. The examples shown on these boards are being refined by the artists and will be fabricated as inlaid mosaic pieces for each of the platforms. And with that, we'll move on to stop 4, and I'll pass it back over to Corey.
Thanks, Mike. So just a quick kind of recap of some of the benefits that have been touched on regarding the Flash. So the project itself will improve travel times along the corridor for transit users. We're forecasting the average travel time during the peak periods to be about 30 minutes and 27 minutes during the off-peak, which is a reduction of about 5 minutes compared to current travel times. As Christine mentioned earlier, the Flash buses will operate every 6 to 10 minutes during peak periods and between every 10 to 20 minutes during off-peak periods. And the service will run from 5 in the morning until 1 in the morning. So this will ensure frequent and reliable transit operations for all users. Christine touched on the number of pedestrian and bike connectivity enhancements that are planned for the project. This will help link high-density housing areas and major employment centers with the Flash, as well as the connections that the Flash will provide between the 2 branches of the Metro Red Line. This overall enhanced connectivity will facilitate better access to jobs, education, and other essential services. The Flash buses will feature new enhanced vehicles equipped with Wi-Fi and USB ports, providing a modern and comfortable experience for riders. Riders will be able to start their workday while on the bus, taking advantage of that Wi-Fi. The level boarding will help facilitate easy on and off, and bicycles will also be accommodated on board the buses. The buses will often travel in their own dedicated lanes, bypassing traffic and ensuring timely arrivals. And now I'll touch on the project schedule and budget. So the project is currently in what we call the final design phase, and we expect to complete that by early 2025. Construction is slated to begin soon thereafter, with Flash service expected to start in 2028. The total budget for this project is about $169 million, with a portion anticipated to be funded by the Federal Capital Investment Grant Program. You can see a breakdown for the budget shown on the slide on the screen. So we've reached the end of our presentation for this evening. We want you to get on board with our improvements. The Veirs Mill Road Flash project is a monumental step towards enhancing our public transit system along the Veirs Mill Road corridor, improving environmental sustainability, and ensuring better connectivity within our community. I encourage everyone to stay involved and provide feedback through our website or by contacting our team. If you're part of a civic group, we'd love to see if there's an opportunity to talk to your group about the new service and learn more about how this transit investment will help your community move quickly and safely around Montgomery County. Together, we can make this project a success and create a more efficient, accessible, and sustainable transportation future for Montgomery County. Thank you all for attending this evening, and now we'll transition to the Q&A period.
So Corey, I'll help facilitate questions that came in through the chat box. But before I do that, I just wanted to remind folks that the display boards, the project maps, and the other materials that were shown at last night's in-person open house can also be found on the project website, including the link to the comment card, which is also linked via the QR code on screen. So there were a couple of questions that came through the chat. The first one is, are there plans to lay UHPC before BRT starts? I did Google that, Corey, and Google says that is ultra high performance concrete.
So Christine, I believe the plan, right, is around the station areas. The stations themselves will have concrete so that we don't end up with the rippled pavement that happens around some of our bus stops in the county, but the majority of the roadway pavement will be asphalt, as is currently the case.
Next question, is the same bus that is running on US 29, is this the same bus that is running on US 29 now?
So it will be the same style of bus, or at least the same kind of bus, that they will be 60-foot articulated buses. They won't necessarily, well, I guess all that said, they may be the buses that are on US 29 because as the fleet expands, the buses will cycle through on various corridors. So you may see some of the buses that you see on 29 running on Veirs Mill once the service opens. But the plan is to purchase articulated buses that are hydrogen fuel cell powered buses for the Veirs Mill Road project, whereas the ones on US 29 are currently diesel.
Thank you. Next question, is there a way to find out which property owners will be affected by right-of-way?
Do you want to take that one, Christine?
Sure thing. So on the project map that's shown on the website, well, there's really two formats. We have our roll plans, which are PDFs of the proposed plans, but also an interactive web map is available to allow you to zoom in and out and enter a property address where you can see the proposed improvements. And the web map does include, at this level of design, the proposed property easements. So where there are anticipated property impacts, that area is shown on the map. And we do have a survey form that you can use to alert our property acquisition section about concerns you have about property impacts. And in addition to that, if you are identified as an impacted property owner, the county's property acquisition section would be contacting you as the design progresses. Next question, will the existing Metrobus routes remain on Veirs Mill after the BRT starts operation?
Yes, the existing Metrobus routes will remain in operation. So this is an additional service. So I know we've gotten some previous questions and concerns about what happens to the bus stops that are currently there because there are fewer bus stops associated with the Flash. The existing bus stops will remain. as will the existing local services. This will be an additional service. We hope that more people choose to use this service as it'll be a faster, more reliable service, but the local service will still be there for those folks who maybe can't walk as far between the station distances on Flash.
Next question, when is construction planned to begin?
Construction slated to begin in 2025, likely towards the fall of 2025. As we mentioned, a portion of the funding of this project is envisioned to be a federal capital investment grant, which we don't currently have in hand yet. And so we are anticipating that grant to come sometime towards the middle or fall next year. And once we have that grant, then construction can begin.
Next, will bicycles be accommodated during rush hour, or will density be prioritized first during that time? I think that's similar reference to how Metro sometimes limits bicycles on board during their peak hours.
Yep. So there's space built into the Flash buses for bikes. There are racks on the bus. Those racks are always there. And so we would anticipate that even during peak periods, bikes will be on the bus. It's towards the rear portion of the bus. And so it doesn't end up taking up seat space because that space is already dedicated to bikes.
Next, for homeowners impacted on the proposed sidewalks, can we discuss how close they will be to the homes? Will there be barrier from sidewalk and the properties? I think I can take an initial shot at this, Corey, in that it really varies on a location by location basis. The preferred design does include a buffer space between the road and the proposed sidewalk that can vary between 3 feet and 6 feet wide. And in very constrained locations, that buffer would not exist. So the sidewalk would be right next to the road where it's not possible to add the buffer. And the sidewalk itself is 5 to 6 feet wide. So based on those space requirements, that does impact where there may be property impacts. And then will there be barrier from sidewalk and the properties? That also sort of depends location by location. If there's an existing fence or barrier along the property during the property impact discussions, if the property owner is interested in keeping that or replacing that feature on their property, then it would be replaced or added. Corey, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered it well.
Next comment, please remove the window wraps for Flash buses. They make it difficult to see outside.
That we've heard that comment before. Those sorts of changes are under consideration as we move through the bus procurement.
Next, why hydrogen buses instead of electric buses?
Hydrogen is what is going to allow for longer range times. There was an assessment done for not just the Flash fleet, but really the entire ride-on bus fleet, determine what is an appropriate mix of battery electric and hydrogen fuel cell. The hydrogen fuel cell buses are still electric. It's just that the hydrogen is what's generating the power to then charge the buses back up. And actually that hydrogen is going to be generated through a green process at our bus facility. Part of the bus grant that's purchasing the buses is building an electrolyzer that will produce the hydrogen that will fuel the buses. And the facility is also being upgraded with a solar microgrid to then run the electrolyzer. So we're trying to make the process as green as possible, but we need to recognize that there needs to be a mix of zero emission bus fleet to accommodate some of these longer haul services, whereas the battery electric buses just don't have the range yet to meet the needs for these services that run all day.
Next question, how tall are the bus station platforms and how do pedestrians get from ground level to platform level? I can take a shot at this one too, Corey. The design of the station platforms is that they are 12 inches high, which is a little bit taller than the typical curb along the roadway, which is usually 6 to 8 inches tall. And pedestrians get from ground level to the platform level via a ramp. So similar to sidewalk ramps that are out there today, the curb ramps, there'll be a similar style ramp to get folks from that 8-inch, 6-inch high elevation to the higher 12-inch curb on the platforms. The next question is, are there plans to eventually reduce the number of routes that currently run to Wheaton?
Not as part of this project. Some of you may be following the Better Bus project that WMATA is currently holding for the Ride on Reimagine study, which is looking at all of the Montgomery County bus routes that Ride on operates and making recommendations for how those routes might change in the future. Those are separate efforts, not associated with this project. And so the project doesn't anticipate a reduction in routes to Wheaton. And since this group, the BRT group, is not running those other two studies, I can't speak to what potential route changes might be coming either out of Metrobus or Ride On. But I think that the team can probably drop, if they're savvy in Google, can probably drop links to those studies if you're interested in checking them out.
Next question is, how will you ensure the buses are actually ordered with Wi-Fi? You've ordered new shorter buses and they don't have working Wi-Fi.
That's something that goes into the initial spec that goes in with the bus build. If it's not working, that's something for our technical folks in fleet to work out. And I would urge you to let the bus operator know or contact 311 so that we can get on top of those things. But it's something that goes into the specification for the bus as it's being built.
The next question is, how are those easement areas identified on the map and how do we access the survey if we are affected? So maybe I'll switch to my screen to show the tools that are available on the website. Okay, I should be sharing my web browser now. And this is the Veirs Mill Road Flash main web page. And so here at the top is where you can access the materials that were shown at the open house, including the display boards that we walked through at the beginning of this meeting. And if you scroll down to about the middle of the page for the interactive map section, here's where you want to click to view the interactive web map. And I do have that open in a separate window now. And so when you click that button, it'll take you to this page, which is the interactive web map and shows both existing conditions, very similar to Google Earth if you're used to looking at that, with the proposed project improvements overlaid on top. And the legend shows you what each of the various colors or icons mean. And so to respond to that question, this is where you can understand if there are potential impacts to your property, or you can see the potential property impacts. At the top left here, you can enter an address, very similar to Google, to locate a certain property. And then right at the top here, this button that says provide your feedback is that survey where you can enter, as it opens, your contact information, the address that you're interested in, or the area you're interested in, and feedback on your property or right-of-way concerns. And this goes directly to our property acquisition section. The next question, which looks like it was a direct message to me, so just a reminder to others to put these addressed to the entire group. Will the existing on-road bike connector to the Rock Creek Trail and will the existing pedestrian traffic light for the Matthew Henson Trail remain as part of the BRT projects?
I guess I'll start to take that one. So we're not proposing to remove any of the existing traffic signals along the corridor. There are actually additional signals and pedestrian crossings being put in along the corridor. Those are identified on some of the maps and boards shown on the project website. The existing trail connector that currently uses the shoulder along Veirs Mill Road is actually going to be replaced by what should be the real connection through the park itself. That has always been the long-term plan. And so we are helping parks fund that improvement so that they can get that improvement completed in time to then open up the shoulder so that the BRT project can utilize the shoulder. So the connection between the park will still be there. It'll just be within the park as opposed to on road.
And next, Corey, will the shared bus / right turn lane areas actually work, or will drivers ignore the lane markings, especially during rush hour? How have the University Boulevard lanes worked so far?
I'm not directly involved with the project on University Boulevard, but I have heard anecdotally that the red pavement markings seem to be respected fairly well. We've actually got, I believe, a data analysis of how well those lanes are working that should be coming out and being posted to that project website soon. So obviously this team is watching that project with anticipation. But generally, yes, we are seeing better compliance with the red pavement markings, which is why you're starting to see more of those pop up in the county where we intend to have dedicated bus lanes.
The next question is, what happens to the local lanes between Atlantic Avenue and Norback Road?
You want to take that one, Christine?
Sure. In that section, the flash bus is primarily in mixed traffic, so it'll be running in the existing lanes that are shared with all other vehicles. There are select intersections in that segment where there will be queue jumps. So that's the short lanes approaching an intersection that the bus can enter to bypass traffic that's queued up or lined up at the intersection. But generally that section is mixed traffic for the bus. The next question is, you mentioned property impacts. Will there be impacts on homeowners' property lines?
I'll take that one again.
Yes, apologies. There was noise behind me. There are anticipated easements on select properties along the sidewalks or shared use paths or at the flash station locations. And the interactive web map or the role plans that are on the project website are your best source of information to see exactly where those changes are anticipated. Next question, would it be possible to extend the Veirs Mill BRT service north to Shady Grove Metro Station temporarily until the Maryland 355 BRT is completed? That would provide a faster bus connection to Germantown and other points north.
That's something we'll have to take back to the service planners and see whether that's something that could be accommodated. I think from an infrastructure standpoint, I don't think there would be any way to add a flash station there. But we'd have to talk with the service planners and see whether there's a way to just accommodate the service connection up to Shady Grove. So let us take that back to folks and see what they say. But great question.
And then just a reminder here, someone indicated if anyone is listening from more north in the county, please keep an eye on the current weather conditions in your area. I did hear there may be a tornado warning. Please be careful. In the chat, we did provide links to the project website and a direct link to the interactive web map. It looks like someone did also add links to WMATA's Better Bus redesign website and the county's Ride on Reimagined website. Another question, for the areas where the service lines will be affected, where will people park? The service drives, I imagine. So Corey, I could maybe initially answer that one in that
Sure.
there may be temporary impacts to parking along the service drive or along driveways where the sidewalk will cross those driveways. And the details about the duration and the schedule for those impacts would be determined as we get closer to construction, but would be communicated directly with the homeowners along that service drive or along that segment of construction. Did you want to add anything there, Corey?
No, I think that's, it's something that we're still working through with the construction contractor as the design gets finalized and we figure out, where they'll be and how long it will take.
The next question is, will additional streetlights be added on Veirs Mill Road with the proposed sidewalks and crosswalks? Yes, the current design includes 4 brand new traffic signals and in tandem with the new locations where there'll be protected crossings for pedestrians. And they're generally between major signalized intersections. I think there was a
Hey,
suggest-
Christine, I think the question was streetlights.
thank you. I took that as traffic signals. Yes, there would be additional street lighting, especially along the new shared use path and the segments of sidewalk where there are gaps today. The next chat, I think, was suggesting to try to travel further north after the BRT stops at Rockville or Montgomery College to get off at Rockville and change to the 101 bus to Shady Grove. So Corey, I think we can take that back with the previous comment.
Yep.
Next question, are you proposing pervious sidewalk at all? And the answer is yes. Where that's feasible, we are implementing the pervious sidewalk to try to address stormwater management treatment. Does look like I may have skipped some questions, so I'll have to go back through here, or team, if you can help me identify those.
Yeah, Christine, I think I have that one if you want.
Thank you.
Okay, so the question is, will there be property line impacts on the houses near Veirs Mill Road and Randolph Road intersection where there is a service lane? And how can we find out if we'll be affected and how or when would we know?
I'll bring up the map here. Can you tell me that location again, please, Mike?
It's Veirs Mill Road and Randolph Road, that intersection. But I think generally the larger question is who will or when will property owners find out when if their properties are impacted and kind of what will be the process moving forward.
Right. And specifically at that location, there are temporary easements on select properties for the construction of the sidewalk and shared use path. Corey, did you want to talk about schedule for right of way?
I guess, is Zuli able to come off mute and speak to that one? I think she's probably better positioned.
Yeah, sure. The question is, who are the design and construction contractors and who builds the hydrogen powered buses?
No, this is a
So-
question about notification for property impacts. There, people are wondering about
sorry.
schedule.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay. So what we're doing, basically, we are at a 60% design, which is, it is an advanced design from a preliminary, but we don't have a finalized design to be able to tell you exactly where it is. In the near future, you'll be getting notices and information about the property acquisition and if there is any impact to the right of way and to your properties. So we're working on that, and in the coming months, you'll be getting notifications for that.
Thanks, Julie.
And as a follow-up to that, there was a question on if they would need to disclose this if they were to sell their home.
As a real estate professional, I mean, I don't know how to, I don't have a technical answer to that one.
I would think that as long as you have not gotten a notification, right? So it won't be your issue anymore, right? Will be the buyer, the new owner, is what I would think.
Great, thanks, Uli. I think we're moving back down now to the other question that you started to answer, which is who will design and who are the design and construction contractors, and who builds the hydrogen powered buses?
Okay, so I'll take this one for the construction and designer. So the design is done by RK&K and their sub-consultants. RK&K are Christine, who the people we have here, manning this whole presentation, Christine and Mike. And RK&K have their own subs, that includes architects, surveyors, traffic analysis, traffic engineers. So it's a whole team. So that's the lead designer. Construction is done by Concrete General. Concrete General also built US 29. And RK&K was also the lead designer for US 29. So this project is a CMAR delivery method, and a CMAR means that the contractor actually gets involved early on. So they don't come only to build the project, but they are involved in they contribute actually to the design as well. The hydrogen, I'll give that to Corey for the buses.
So I don't know if an actual company has been identified for the buses yet. That's something that our fleet division deals with. And so we're a couple of years out until we need to procure the buses, and so that decision hasn't been made yet.
The next question is, are there any plans to link up this Veirs Mill Road route and the New Hampshire Ave / US 29 routes? And I think Rebecca on our side did link to the Flash network map in response to that question. But Corey, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just note, no current plans, but there is a planned BRT line for University Boulevard, which would connect kind of east and west from Wheaton over to the Four Corners area, which would connect to US 29 and ultimately Tacoma Langley, where the New Hampshire line would ultimately run through. There seems to still be a lot of questions about the property impact.
Yeah.
So if you go to the project website, there are maps up on the project website where you can see the current design. Again, that's the 65% design, so it's not the final design, and may change between now and the final design, but that is the latest design. And you can search by your property address and see whether the current design shows a need for property at your location. In terms of the notifications, we anticipate notifications to go out this summer as that final design becomes more definitive. We don't want to notify folks when we're still working through the design, and ultimately we may not need any property at your location as we refine that design. So we anticipate getting to final design this summer. And at that point, notification letters will start going out from our property acquisition section. But again, if you have any concerns or further questions, please use the property survey that's on the web map, or reach out to the project manager whose email address is on the project website, which is there at the bottom of the slide on the screen right now. I got a question message directly to me about any MCPD enforcement. I assume that relates to the dedicated bus lane portions. There will likely be some level of enforcement. We're still working through those details, and also monitoring what the district is doing in terms of camera enforcement. So we're looking at what options are available to make sure that the lanes are respected.
And Corey, you touched on this a little bit, but circling back on the property impacts, there was a question, can you at least let us know if there's even a possibility of property being affected? You say we will find out in coming months, that 1 month, 2 months, or longer. No one seems to be answering the question that several people have proposed.
Yeah, so I think Corey answered the question, but I'm gonna say, so we do anticipate final design by end of August. And at that time, we will update the information. By the way, the links that are on the chat are by our team. It's not a question, so you can actually either copy paste that or just click on it and it will take you to the link. So as we get our final design, we will update the maps that you see the link to here. You will have a better idea. But we're thinking by fall of this year, you will start getting notifications. So it's not long, it's in a few months.
Thanks, Uli. Next question is, as part of the signal jumps, can the existing traffic lights be changed to allow all red or delayed green phases to improve pedestrian safety? This is especially needed at the Atlantic Avenue intersection. Corey, I think that's a good thing we can take back to the team, especially since we do have evaluations of the signal timing to understand where those types of phases can be inserted.
Great.
Moving down in the chat, if your property is impacted, can you do anything or just have to accept that you will lose property?
So it is a negotiation. That's how property acquisition works. As we indicated, the desire for the project team is to reduce and make as small as possible any property that we would need. Our desire is not to make this project as large as possible, and impact as many properties as we can. We're trying to shrink this down and make it as small, but these are important improvements. There's been a lot of requests for better walking and biking conditions along the corridor. And so these are very important features that the county is committed to putting in place to help support the communities along this corridor. So, I can't speak to specific locations. That would be premature at this time. But, as we reach out and our property acquisition section contacts you, they will explain the process in great detail as to how the negotiation works, how we come up with a fair price and all of those details. The property is always purchased. Even, you may have heard the term property take. Even in that situation, there is still a fair and negotiated price in order to purchase the property. So at the end of the day, all property that will be acquired for the project will be purchased.
Corey, as a addition to some of the information being updated as design progresses, I wanted to encourage folks to use the comment card to also sign up for the mailing list for the project. That's a good source of communication for project updates moving forward. Another question is, will there be another open house in August or in the fall once the plan is finalized?
So yes, I would anticipate that there will probably be, another open house. I can't say that we've planned out the specific date that it'll be exactly in the fall, but I would anticipate another open house once the final design is completed and we start to have more details about construction, which I'm sure will be questions that the community will have. And so we'll want to share those details as they become clearer to our team with the community. And I just dropped in a link to the county's engineering website. Our property acquisition section has a page on that site that describes the process in more detail, for those of you that want to know more about that.
Yeah. And can you all please show, I don't know who's sharing, can you show the page where there is the contact information as well? If you have any specific questions or a question that we have not answered today, please reach out to me. My email is here on screen.
Thanks, Uli. We are getting close to the 8 p.m. end time. So I think we're close to wrapping up. And it looks like we at least got through the questions that are currently in the chat. Going east on Veirs Mill Road from Connecticut Avenue, there's a wooded area along with a service road up to / close to Glorious Place. Could we add lanes on that side?
You want to take a stab at that one first, Christine?
Sure. I'm looking at exactly where this wooded area is. I think this is a comment for us to take back and evaluate the potential. I assume, could we add lanes means potential bus lanes? So we can take a look at the current plan or potential for additional lanes there. We can also follow up with State Highway Administration, our partner and the road owner, to understand if there are any other plans in that area.
Are there any other questions before the meeting concludes in a couple of minutes? Well, we'll start wrapping up. If you do have any last minute questions, please either feel free to raise your hand or drop a question in the chat. But we really want to thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join the meeting. These sorts of communications, the feedback that we get, the questions are really what make the projects better. We want to make sure that this is a project that's going to serve the community well. And that, we take your feedback to heart. And so as we work to finalize the design, we'll look at all the comments received, not just tonight, but last night during the in-person meeting, and see what we can accommodate and fit within the project schedule and budget. And definitely, if you haven't signed up to our mailing list, please do so that you get our communications going forward. As we get closer to construction, there probably will be more communications more frequently to let people know what's happening. So. Don't see any questions in the main chat. I guess, did anyone on the project team get any last minute questions directly to them? Hearing nothing, I'm going to assume that's a no. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your evening. Please stay in touch, stay connected to us as the project moves forward. And I hope everyone has a great evening.
Thank you.